All right, so for your mini lesson today, you're going to be talking about solving by rewriting. It's the idea of rewriting equations in a way that makes them a little bit simpler to solve. So it's the idea that you can actually make equivalent equations that are just simpler to work with. So two equations are equivalent if their solutions are the same. So there's several different ways that we can change one equation into a different equivalent equation. So a lot of common ways would be like adding something to both sides, multiplying by something on both sides, dividing by something on both sides, and rewriting one or both sides of the equation. So for example, the equations below are all equivalent to 2x plus 1 equals 3. So this is equal to 2x plus 1 equals 3 because they're just all multiplied by 10. These equations would be equal because we're just like factoring out that 2, because if you multiplied the 2 by the x, you'd get 2x, and 2 times 0.5, you'd get 1. Same thing here. I just divided everything by 3. So instead of this being a 3, 3 divided by 3 gives me 1. 1 divided by 3 gives me 1/3. 2x divided by 3 gives me 2x over 3. So these are all equivalent things. Sometimes these will make things easier, sometimes these will make things harder, but the idea is that we want to try and make equations easier to work with. So, with your team, you're going to find an equivalent equation for each of the equations you see down here. Be sure your equivalent equation has no fractions or decimals and hence numbers that are reasonably small. So we don't want to be making decimals like this because that just makes things harder. We also don't want to make the numbers absurdly large because that doesn't help us either. So our goal is to make the numbers a little bit easier than they currently are. So for example, when I'm looking at this problem, I notice all three pieces have a 32 in them, but they aren't. The 32 isn't really doing anything for us. So an equivalent equation would be if I took all three pieces and divided them all by 32, just like they did here with the dividing by 3. That would give me 3x minus 5 equals 7. This is an equivalent expression to what they have up above. So when you're looking at this one, see which one of these strategies you think might be helpful to you. Like, what if I multiply by something to make the numbers more simple? What if I divide by something? What if I factor something out? So that's kind of your thought process here. So I'm going to take a moment of pause. I want you to think about what you could do for each of these, and then you can come back and check your answers. So now that I've gone through and simplified each of these, I chose to multiply by 3 here because it made all of my dividing by 3s or all my fractions disappear. Here I chose to multiply by 1,000 because if I multiply by 1,000, that gets rid of all 3 sets of decimals, and 30 is a reasonable number to work with. It's not like I'm trying to deal with 3,000 or 300,000 or something like that. This one's a little bit more challenging because I have 2 different denominators. So I was thinking about what could I multiply by that would undo dividing by 2 and would undo dividing by 4. So if I multiply by 4, I end up getting numbers that are no more fractions.